going on, guys? Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone's doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of The Full View. It's Thursday, 6 p.m. You know what that means. It's time for The Full View. Plenty to discuss, as always. International break is done. It's over. Club football is back. Manchester United are back, and everyone's feeling very positive and very excited about the game at the weekend. So much so that it's a must-win for Erik Ten Hag. We've got so much to talk about. We're going to be talking about if it is indeed a must-win for the Manchester United manager. We're going to be talking about Erik Ten Hag possibly versus Cristiano Ronaldo. A bit of beef in the media. We chatted about that, and Manuel Ugarte. He is available, so we chatted about it all. Big up to the panel, as always. Big up to Bidder. Big up to Bradley on his Full View debut. Round of applause. Bradley on his Full View debut. Big up, big up, big up. Big up to Mr. Marcel, Kenny, and Good Vibes John. And big up to everyone in the panel too. Right, let's get straight into this. Let's get into Erik Ten Hag this weekend. Manchester United versus Southampton. Lunchtime kickoff, 12:30 at St. Mary's, away from home. Southampton haven't won a game this season. Manchester United have won one game this season. Erik Ten Hag, as I mentioned, did his press conference just a few minutes ago, actually, and was asked about the start to the season, and he was quite bullish. Was the Manchester United manager. We do have a couple of quotes we can get up on the screen. When asked about the start of the season, the pressure on him, Erik Ten Hag said, "We will see where we are in May. It is very early in the season, and it is about winning trophies, being as high as possible in the league, do everything to win every game." He also said, which I've seen quite people actually kind of jump on, they like this from Erik Ten Hag. He said that we're in a transition period. We have to integrate a lot of young players into the team. We have to bring the injuries back into the team. But before anyone thinks about excuses, we have to win every game. I know that. The team knows this. We focus on every game and have the mindset we have to win. Kenny, I'll start with you. Do you see Saturday as a must-win game? And do you like what you're hearing from the Manchester United manager there about got to win every single game?
I think from what is said, it's only. I think it's going to say that, isn't it? It's going to say that. It's not going to come out and say we was absolutely awful against Liverpool. We was disgraceful with Brighton or whatever. He ain't going to say it, so it has to come out and be positive or whatever. So I don't. If I'm being honest, I consider him as an interim manager because I firmly believe as they don't want him. I firmly do believe they don't want him. And I think the only reason he's where he is now is because he won the FA Cup. I do not see him being with us at the end of the season. I don't. I think if he talks about bullish, doing this, doing that or whatever, at the end of the day, they said they were going to give us a style of play. And he doesn't know his style of play. I don't care what anybody says because I've seen them there for 2.5 years and I can't work out what they should and what they shouldn't be doing. I'm looking at other managers. He's talking there about, I've got to load new players and I've got to do this, I've got to do that. I sat there and I watched Liverpool with a manager that's had them for 3 weeks and they absolutely played us off the park at football. And I could see, watching Liverpool, how they played. I could see the formations. I knew where they was going to run. You could just see it. I can't see that with Man United. So, yeah, I'm going to back my manager, but I have very little faith. I'm being honest. I've got very little faith in him. So I've never been happy. I'm certainly not happy at the moment the way his selections are going. His favourites, he's picking his favourites over. You know, the biggest cheer at Old Trafford the other week was when he took Garnacho off and left Rashford on. Well, it was a boo. Are you with me? And that, to me, spoke volumes about what the actual fans are thinking. So I'm seeing my manager at the moment as an interim manager because I don't believe Wilcox, Ashworth and co want him as manager. I don't. Longer term, there's no choice at the moment. There's no choice at the moment because there's nobody out there for us. As regards to Southampton, it's not a case of we have to win. It's Southampton. We're not talking prime Real Madrid. We're not going away to the Bernabeu or whatever. We're going down the coast to Southampton, a newly promoted team that has scored 1 goal in 3 games and yet to get a point. And we're all sat here thinking we must win this. What happens if we don't win this? But then we shouldn't even be discussing that. But we are. And why are we? Because of the way we're playing. And it ain't good. It ain't good. No. So must win it's a definite. Do you know what happens if we don't win? If we don't win at the weekend, the teams below us are all playing each other. None of them are playing a top 6 club. If we don't win at the weekend and they do, we will win the bottom 3. Check it.
Yeah, and they're not good. And also, as well, I think I was looking at the stats on the preview earlier on. If United don't win, they would have lost 3 out of the first 4 for the first time since the mid-'80s. I think 84, 85, around that period of time. It would be not a good start whatsoever.
It's lost over 50 games in 3 years. It's lost over 50 games.
Yeah, the stats are not good, Kelly. They're not good. I'm going to Brad.
Apart from that, everything's fantastic.
Exactly. I'll go to you, Bradley, next. It was quite interesting, actually, to see you talk to Flex after the last game at Old Trafford. You were quite vocal, quite staunch about your views about Erik Ten Hag. How are you feeling about it after a couple of weeks? And do you see tomorrow as a must-win game for him, or is your mind made up at this point?
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you. You're all good.
Yeah. My mind's already made up. I wanted him gone in October last season. To be honest, I can see how he's trying to play, but it's virtually impossible to play the way how he wants to play with this 3-1-6 with an isolated midfielder. I don't think there's a midfielder on the planet that can play the way how Erik Ten Hag wants to play. To be honest, I think he's throwing that midfielder under the bus, and that's been Casemiro recently. Kobbie Mainoo got thrown under the bus in the second half, but we tried it with Amrabat last season. We tried it with Eriksen last season. We tried it with Scott McTominay. I think the writing's on the wall. And he's talking about May. Will he even see May, to be honest? Because, as you said, Southampton is a must-win, because if we lose that game, or even draw that game, we've got Tottenham at home coming up, Villa away, even Chelsea at home coming up soon. I mean, Jadon Sancho might put the final dagger into his heart.
Could you imagine? I mean, after that, even our next Premier League game after this is Palace away. And considering what happened there last season as well, it is concerning. I mean, just to continue on that, Bradley, then with Saturday, how are you feeling? You feeling optimistic? You feeling positive? Do you think we're going to scrape it, or do you just not know what to expect at this point?
I don't know what to expect. I presume we'll win. I predicted 1-0 because we don't score goals and they don't score goals. It wouldn't surprise me if it's actually a 0-0, to be honest, because both teams don't score. Yeah,
I know. I'm with you. I have no idea what to expect from Saturday. I really don't. I've gone with a 1-0 win, but who knows? Let's inject a bit of positivity beneath me, Marcel. What are your thoughts on the game at the weekend? What are your thoughts on what Ten Hag's saying there? Do you like what you're hearing from the Manchester United manager? No excuses. We want to win every game. Some people are saying they like that. That's a response to Cristiano Ronaldo, which we'll get to later on. Others are saying, well, he's always said that. That's no different. He always says we want to win every game. What are your thoughts on what he's saying there and the game on Saturday?
Yeah, interesting. Obviously, it's at the start of the season, so you do want to win every single game. I just think it's how is his team selection, like what Kenny was saying. He needs to get that correct. Casemiro should be far out of the team if you want to play in this style. You can't risk your fullback so up the pitch if you want to play this style of football. So he has a few adjustments to make. Of course, he's talking about integrating other players that haven't been here for a certain period of time as well, and younger players. So there's a process for that as well. But he has to get it right. He has to get how he's trying to construct the team to play, the line of engagement as well on the forward line. Are we going to play a high line against Southampton, or are we going to be more conservative in this game? So there's little tweaks that he has to make for the team to be able to operate the 4-2-4 shape / the 3-1-6 from build up from our goal kicks. It has to work in a specific way, I think. And against that Liverpool game, I think he kind of showed that he done too much risk. He played in I think he might be trusted, that it's the home crowd, and he played in a way that just invoked too much risk. And Liverpool kind of had a good style and winning the ball in our half quickly, and obviously killed us in the game. But against this kind of team, lesser quality, he maybe does play again in an ultra attacking style to try and kill the game, and let's see if they can deliver it. I'm hoping something closer to a Fulham game, where we did get a lot of chances in the game, but hopefully we can score them. I'm still feeling positive. These are one of the 5 games that I said we will win, so I'm expecting a win.
Every game. We win every game, Marcel, in fairness.
No.
5 games.
There's some
What you
games that I
said
think
makes
we'll
sense.
draw or lose sometimes. But,
Well, so
you
you
know,
said we're winning the first 5 games of
First
the
5. First 5.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
can't just drop that in.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying, guys. So I'm expecting a win here. There's no way I wouldn't have expected a win here, is what I'm saying, because I expected to win the first 5 games. So I'm not worried about what's happened previously. I'm saying, and okay, we lost against Brighton. It's in the last embers of the game, and if in a situation where I thought we could have got more than no points. And then obviously against Liverpool, I think Ten Hag's. I want to blame the players as well. For me, Casemiro shouldn't be nowhere near this side for the next month. Rashford should be nowhere near this side for the next month. So there's poor player performances within that as well against the Liverpool performance for me. But it's definitely positive. They've just been promoted, like what Kenny's saying. I think we should be able to win this game.
So Marcel thinks we should be able to win. John, do you echo his statements there? Are you feeling good vibes? It is in the name that you've chosen. Good vibes, John. Are you feeling good vibes ahead of the weekend? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think so. Honestly, these past 2 weeks, it's felt, oddly enough, surprisingly, but in a negative way, really bad in terms of the reaction from the Manchester United fan base. I think United fans they're very tired and they're very sort of sick of seeing the same thing over and over again. And as somebody with the name Good Vibes John, somebody who tries to at least speak about positivity without forcing it, it's been very difficult to find these little pockets of, positivity. And usually when fans come on my lives or they leave comments with negativity, I have a rebuttal. But these days, I'm finding the rebuttal harder to come up with. Without forcing it or sort of fluffing it. And I can't blame the fans for feeling frustrated. We talked about it at the top of the show. Ten Hag, he has to win no matter what. I don't care how he does it. I mean, what I care more about is building the consistency and the rhythm. But for Ten Hag, at this moment in time, he needs wins because that helps to really silence a little bit and take the pressure off of him and take the pressure off the shoulders of him and the players. So I think right now at this moment, he needs to win. With respect to your question, do I feel positive that he'll get the win? I think so. If there's one thing we've seen last season, we're like, oh, he's going to get smacked, and he smacks him up. And they're like, oh, he's going to smack him up, and then he gets smacked. So just by that logic, if we've been playing poorly, I'm just going to say, you know what? We're going to win. So I'm feeling positive.
John's feeling positive. Minna, are you feeling positive? Are you in the camp of Kenny and Bradley? You're not sure what to expect. How are you feeling going into the game at the weekend? And what do you think about his comments as well?
Yeah, I think the only time, Ten Hag has beaten Southampton 1-0 in his first season. I don't know if you remember, but it was off the back of those Brentford and Brighton losses. After that, I think 0-0 was the only other result. And that's the season they were going down. That was March.
Exactly.
That was when they were eventually, I think in March, they were pretty much relegated. It was confirmed. I'm in the camp of I don't know what to expect. And I think that's the unfortunate thing with like Manchester United in the last 10, 12, 18 months, however long you want to look at it, you do not know what to expect. But my biggest worry is not just kind of that game. I hope Man United win. I expect Man United to win. But it's also, I think, the domino effect that leads to it. The next 10 games, Man United is playing 7 of them away. You know what our away record is like. You guys know how much United struggle away from home. I'm sorry to bring this information to you guys, but I think in September, the only Premier League game they're playing at home is Spurs. And then in October, the only Premier League game they're playing at home is against Brentford. We're going to West Ham. We're going to Villa. We've got some tough matchups, including like Fenerbahce and Porto away in Europa League. This is the best time to kickstart a run of games of picking up points and getting into form and getting into momentum. My only worry going into Southampton is 12:30 on a Saturday down south off the back of an international break where all the United players that were playing in international break looked great and they're going to come back and just look discombobulated. And I guarantee you guys, it's going to be like a snatch and grab. Like Burnley last year, Luton last year, it's going to be a Man United grab it, 1-0 win, back up the M6 to Manchester with 3 points. But that, for me, hopefully can kickstart a run of games because after that is Barnsley, etc., etc. So I'm just looking ahead after Southampton. I'm like, oof, scary hours.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I did the preview of Flex earlier on, and I do think United are going to win on Saturday. My prediction is somewhat similar to yours, Minute, in that I think it'd be actually quite similar to when we last played Southampton at St Mary's a couple of years ago, like a 1-0 where maybe come out of the game, Southampton like, oh, actually, if only we could finish our chances, maybe we'd have a good opportunity, because I think United will concede chances, but I do think United will have just enough to win. It's an interesting one because, as everyone's basically said, it is must win, because if he loses, not that he will lose his job, but it will just be the negativity will be on another level. He's not going to lose his job after that game or anything like that, but it will be the beginning of a way slippery slope that it feels like he's already on. But if he wins, it doesn't really calm any of that. You know what I mean? Because, he's expected to win that one. We got Barnsley next. We're expected to win that one. If he goes away to, say, Palace and wins, I think that people will go, well, that's something. If he beats Spurs at home, they'll go, well, that's something. If he beats Villa away, they'll go, well, that is something. So it feels like those bigger tests are on the horizon, and these are meant to be the sort of gimmies that you just get through and you win. But nothing's for certain at the moment for Manchester United. So it's difficult. Kenny, you were going to say.
The other thing as well, come 3 o'clock on a Saturday, we could be 6th if we win. Are you with me? We'll go up to joint 6th if we win. Now that puts a different emphasis and a different feel from a fan's point of view. All right, the teams have not played, but at least you can look at the team and think, oh, well, we're in the top 7, we're in the joint 6th or whatever. So that gives you that air of positivity. But anything but that, and then you're just piling more doom and gloom on us all, aren't you? I think So you've got to win.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like a cup game. It is like a cup game. It feels like a cup game to me. It's a must-win game.
Well, and it's a weekend star as well. For the 3rd time this season, United are starting the Premier League weekend. Of course, we started it on the first weekend of the season against Fulham. Started the weekend against Brighton on the second weekend. We're starting the weekend again this time around.
It's done for a reason.
And well, exactly.
No, it is done for a reason. People watch it. People all over the world will be watching this game that wouldn't watch it normally. So it's great for the viewing, great for ratings. It's Man United.
A couple of super chats here. Red Baron says, Johnny, still friends with Joe, Adam, and Steve? A quick John friend check.
Okay. Yeah, why not? They're my brothers. They opened me into this world forever.
Uncle says, to be fair, there is a style of play. It's just crap. Crash Illustration with his weekly super chat for the full view says, big ups Owen, Minna, old wise man Kenny. He's remembered your name this time. That's not bad. The only one and only Marcel and new guy and John. John, how do you enjoy your introduction to the Reckless Delegates? Big up to everyone. Let's beat Southampton. Have you been on KG's channel?
Why am I getting name dropped in these super chats? Yeah, I was. Oh my God. Let me tell you what happened. I was on the, KG show. It gets reckless. Hashtag reckless thoughts. You know what I'm saying? I usually call in just to provide a little bit of, fun and banter. I always get sin binned anyway, but I came on and there was like 9 men just screaming at each other. So I was like, what happened? And I wanted to just cut the stream off because I was like, okay, I don't want to be a part of this because they were swearing and cussing and everything. So I was like, I don't want to be a part of this. I moved my hand to the mouse to disconnect, and then he adds me into the stream. And then he goes, good vibes, John, yeah? And he keeps calling me good vibes, by the way. You should just call me John. He goes, good vibes, yeah? Tell me, what do you think about Southampton, whatever? And I told him, I was like, look, I don't give a damn if it's a 1-1 draw. I haven't seen consistency. I need to see that first. And then the chat went crazy. The people in the video was like, what the F are you talking about? Blah, 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 blah. Just screaming at me. And I was like, whoa. It went mad. KG went, it was crazy. He lost control. He said he lost control of the ship, but
wow,
shout out KG. Love him.
Doesn't sound very KG-like at all. Joe Fleming says, why wouldn't we win? Everybody so pessimistic. And I'm sure Kenny, name check for Kenny, was fully Ten Hag in after the FA Cup final. And now he's calling him an interim.
I was. Yeah. And because I felt as though it deserved it from the point of view that it was an incredible day for the fans because we'd had 18 months of being kicked from pillar to post, and we beat Man City in a fantastic performance at Wembley. And everybody around me at Wembley was saying they can't get rid of him now. They can't, and I think that was their thought either. We can't get rid of him now. Can't get rid of him now. And I think that was Ineos's thoughts because the positivity around that result was euphoric. It was like we'd won the treble. We beat Man City. Do you know what I mean?
Casemiro weren't playing in that game, Kenny, I don't think.
Well, no, Scott McTominay was. But at the end of the day, Amrabat probably was man of the match.
I still wouldn't know.
I thought Aaron Wan-Bissaka was absolutely superb. at Wembley. Absolutely superb. And then we go and sell him. We don't have Amrabat anymore. We're left with Casemiro and the likes of Rashford. And Rashford got substituted. But we are where we are. We are where we are. But I'm just slowly but surely convincing myself that the way that the Ineos are looking now, they've now got the top team together. They've signed another guy yesterday, I think, from PSG, the financial director. He worked with Blanc. So all of a sudden, they're getting the structure, how they want it, is right at the top of the club. So I think it's a case of they're probably accepting a mediocre season off the first 3 or 4 results, because they'll have been like us. They all sat there. They were sat in the crowd at Old Trafford, and they must have felt the vibe from the fans. With 10 minutes to go, 20,000 people had left the stadium. Bradley would have been there. 20,000 people left the stadium. 10 years ago, even at 3-0 down, you always believed that your team would come back. There was no belief at all in the fan base, none whatsoever. So I'm just, Ineos now, they've got what they want at the top. They're making, all the figures are coming out now, all the financials are coming out, how much we've lost over the last 3 years. Looking at our percentage of expenditure on wages as regards to income, I think we're the 4th worst or best, whichever way you want to look at it, in the Premier League. 55% of our income is spent on wages, and it's falling. So it's that's positive. All that is positive. So I'm looking. These people, as we've said, are definitely in it for the long game. They are definitely in it for the long game. And I think that the players that they've bought, they're not superstars. They're averaging around 40, 50 million. They're not what we would normally buy from regards to high-profile players, more high cost or whatever. Hopefully that may come in the future. So now I think it's just, let's just see it through. Let's get these people in place. Let's get Ashworth. Let's get Wilcox working. By rights or in law, they've only just started. They've only been in the job a couple of months. So I think that's the way that they've got to be looking at it. And that's why I said there's been no managers about, or no big names about, that have come free. They knew from the fans' reaction. We had a great FA Cup final. People were talking about Potter, Gareth Southgate. They'll have seen all the algorithms. They'll have seen all the fan channels, all the posts, or whatever. Manchester United fans were dead against it. So if they had got rid of Ten Hag and got a Southgate or got a Potter, then their honeymoon period was gone. Their honeymoon period was gone. It was over. So I'm just thinking it's a case now of get through this season. Get through this season and let's get somebody who they want.
A couple more super chats here. Jason says, a win isn't good enough. He has to play them off the park and beat them 3-0. They're garbage. I don't think he has to. And I don't think he will, by the way. I'd love... think we could still win the game 2 or 3-0, and there would be complaints about performances afterwards as well, because we have seen that in the past from United. There's more to it, isn't there? Danny says managers, coaches, elite, yet social media allows 99% of unqualified fans to voice reactionary opinions like it's fact without seeing training giving time. Well, I think fans are entitled to an opinion. I do want to talk about this Ronaldo stuff, because there's been a lot of people talking about this Ronaldo stuff the last couple of days on social media. So Cristiano Ronaldo did an interview, for those who didn't see, with Rio Ferdinand, part of his channel. And he had a variety of things to say, talking about his exit from Manchester United. He also spoke about Eric Ten Hag. It was this specific quote that got a lot of people's attention. So Ronaldo said, the coach says they cannot compete to win the Premier League and Champions League. As Manchester United coach, you cannot say you're not going to fight to win the league or Champions League. Mentally, you can say maybe we don't have that potential, but I cannot say that. We're going to try. You have to try. What I wish for Manchester United, it's what I wish for me, to be the best team they can. I love that club. I'm not that kind of guy that forgot the past. Now, naturally, Eric Ten Hag was asked about this in the press conference today, about Ronaldo's comments. Ten Hag responded by saying, he said that Manchester United can't win the Premier League. He said this, if you read the article very well. He's far away in Saudi, far away from Manchester. Everyone can have an opinion. It's okay. It doesn't impact me. I know in the process where we are, where we're going. Bradley, I'll come to you first with this. what did you make of those Ronaldo comments? I mean, it's kind of an extension of what he was saying. He was leaving Manchester United in the first place. Do you put too much stock into it, or is it just a case of, Ronaldo says things so people pay attention to them?
I think Ronaldo's saying that because of the environment he was, especially when he was there at the club in 2008, when we won 3 in a row, won the Champions League. So obviously he's been used to being in that environment with players like Roy Keane, Carlos Tevez, people that are mentality monsters. I think Ten Hag could have responded to it a bit better. I don't think he needs to mention the Saudi part. I think he could just go, I respect his opinion. We bought in Ruud van Nistelrooy for that, and we'll do the talking on the pitch. I think that's how he could have responded, to be honest.
And his part when he's talking about, there was another part in the interview where Ronaldo's talking about things changing at the club. Do you think, again, he's happy now because those things that he did complain about, we are starting to see change, training ground, etc. Do you think that's really the change he was looking for?
I mean, I've got faith for the medium and long-term future of the club. I think there's an uncertainty about the short-term future with Erik Ten Hag as the manager. I don't have a lot of faith in him, to be honest. He's the only manager where I actually refuse now to watch press conferences and interviews after games because he does me head in. Even last season when he started talking about, I'm not going to play Ajax football here at Manchester United. Well, when you bring in a manager into Manchester United, it's based on the reputation you built up at another club. I mean, an analogy, it's like going out and buying a fish, and you're buying a fish tank and everything, and all of a sudden it starts growing 4 legs and you need to take it out for a walk. No, we bought a fish to put it in a fish tank in your kitchen. We brought Erik Ten Hag in to play the football he played at Ajax. So why is he saying that? I don't have a clue. And then also he was okay after the Fulham game with conceding loads of shots, saying it's part of my style. Well, then it's a flawed system and it's glaringly obvious. So you need to change it. And then also with the Casemiro thing, yeah, he made the mistakes after Crystal Palace. But if you look at the Newcastle game, the Arsenal game, and the Brighton game, when we changed it to a 4-2-4 shape in possession, he played well against Arsenal. He cleared 2 off the line. He played well against Newcastle. He cleared 2 off the line. And also he played against Brighton and got an assist for the Dalot goal. He didn't start the cup final. But I also think Ten Hag's really stubborn because I'm looking at it like we played against Fulham. We missed some clear-cut chances, but Casemiro did play well. The team looked compact with that 4-2-4 shape. Then we played Brighton the first half. We was playing that shape. Yeah, we were 1-0 down. We wasn't really creating anything, but we was compact. Then all of a sudden, Ten Hag changes it to a 3-1-6. And I think in his mind, because we had 2 disallowed goals, in his mind, we kind of won the match. So that's why he played it against Liverpool and we got battered, to be honest.
Marcel, what do you make of the comments by Ronaldo and the comments by Ten Hag there? They've got a bit of a frosty relationship, clearly, with how things ended at United. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, nothing really to comment on about it. Like in a major way. I mean, Ronaldo's over there, Ten Hag's over here, dealing with the business here. We know as fans that we're not going to win the Premier League anytime soon. And we've been seeing that we're so far off it for the last 10 years. So Ten Hag's well within his rights, dealing with it here week in, week out, day in, day out. He's seeing the pictures, and we know that we're not in and around the first or second position. So that makes perfect sense. We've seen how we operated in the Champions League, I think, last season, and we've seen that we're not in the Champions League this season. So that makes more sense. Just on that 4-2-4 though, for the first 2 games, Mason Mount was, I think, a really important part of it, which, Ten Hag was mentioning about the injuries. So certain players to come back in terms of holding that shape and being more compact. But again, Ten Hag has to implement it correctly. He has to tell them, to be more reserved and not have the line so high up. Or he needs to get somebody else to help him in the build-up. You can't leave the person alone like he did against Liverpool anyway. He might try and do it again against Southampton, and I can understand why, lesser quality players. And it might work. It might give dividends, having the one player by himself and in the midfield, out of the 2, and then having your 2 fullbacks really high. He might be able to get away with it against the Southampton side. But against Liverpool, I think he learnt that, and that's just part of the process. We're so early into the season. So there's plenty more fixtures for him to prove that he's going to get it right. And yeah, you know,
He's played Liverpool. He must have played Liverpool 5 times now. It's not as if he's just come in like slot or whatever, and he's been there, or Emery, he's been in there 3 or 4 weeks. He's been in there 2 or 3 years, so we all know how Liverpool play. So why has he not picked up on it? Do you know what I mean? It's not like just because it's the first game of the season is irrelevant. It's Liverpool. It's the quality of the players, the system.
Well, it's changed, you know, and that Liverpool side, I feel like they scored counter-attacking kind of style goals. They were very compact and trusted Manchester United Football Club to push out in a 3-1-6 shape and cause problem and malfunction. That's what they trusted. That's how they scored their 3 goals. It was from a malfunctioning of us having the football in a certain way and then them approaching the goal from our misfortune of playing the ball incorrectly.
90% of goals scored 90% of goals come from mistakes. Your opposition makes a mistake or whatever. It's how you react. We just didn't react. Do you know what I mean? There was still lots of.
I don't know about
that. When Arne Slot came into Liverpool, he did say he was going to play the exact same pressing triggers as what Jurgen Klopp did, which was a man-for-man press with a narrow front 3. So they had Diaz, Jota, and Salah, and then Szoboszlai, who's an athletic midfielder, running in behind. So he knew that. He knew that from the start of the season. You do your due diligence building up to the game. He's seen Liverpool playing that man-for-man system, and he still decided to play in possession a 3-1-6 with one isolated midfielder. And the most ironic thing is that everyone's trying to blame Casemiro, and yeah, he was poor, but Kobbie Mainoo went into that exact same position, and we conceded the exact same goal. The issue was in that game was not the personnel. The issue in that game was the system, and he should have changed that at half time. The only difference.
Szoboszlai and Gravenberch last year couldn't get in the Klopp team. All right. Yeah. So Gravenberch comes in, Szoboszlai is there, and then you've got McAllister up front. And if you're watching it, right, they moved us 2 together. So if one went up, the other one came back. So that 3, that shape was always there. So we couldn't play through them. With no chance of playing through them because they were so neat and tidy in how they did it. So they never got caught. So as we've already said, with Casemiro, Mainoo or whatever, they were stranded. The Liverpool Liverpool 3 were a 3. Because if one went, the other dropped in. It was just simple. Playing very, very easy on the eye, very easy to watch. And Gravenberch last year couldn't get in that team. So I'm thinking, that's the system. That's not the players. That's the system. They're told where they need to be at any one time. So for whatever reason, our players are not listening or the system doesn't suit them. Simple.
Yeah, I think it's a bit more of a combination of both, really, because you know we've looked at Kobbie's moment and he's been caught out there, and there's a passing option. You know, a player's running just off to the left of him. There's somebody running down from the midfield line into him to give him support, and he's got a backward pass as well available to him. Same with Casemiro on the first goal. He's got Mazwari on one side, or he's got a quality chip pass into Rashford and Delo, but Arne Slot and Klopp and Slot has mentioned that he's actually different from Klopp in terms of being more patient in his build-up as well in interviews. So it's not exactly the same. He's mentioned that he's taken a few elements from Klopp, but he's trying to evolve that and be more patient. So,
but it's risk-free. It's risk-free because if somebody goes who shouldn't be going, there's somebody there to back it up. We don't have that. We lose the ball and we turn around and we just panic. It was the same against Brighton when the ball come over in the box. There's 2 people waiting on the back post just to went in.
Because Casemiro,
we just get it wrong. But we just get it wrong, don't we?
Casemiro, lo and behold, he's run outside the box. I don't know why. He thinks the job's done. If you look at the bit that Anthony's made a half block and then decides to run outside the box, he thinks the job's done. That's personnel. That's mentality of your players saying, okay, well, listen, it's 1-1 now. Let's not rush.
There's no repercussions, is there? This is what we're saying. There's no repercussions. If Rashford doesn't go back or put the effort in or doesn't score or doesn't do this, it's irrelevant. He still plays. Look at Cody Gakpo. Look at Nunes. Look at Jota. Right? them players are not first team starters. Liverpool are top of the league nearly, and the three of the main strikers can't even get in the first team. So they've got something right. They've got something right, and they've got hungry players coming in. We just don't have it.
Yeah, Ten Hag needs to change that. Like I was saying, Rashford needs to leave the squad immediately, and so does most probably Casemiro. That Ten Hag will get sacked on that premise if he doesn't replace a Rashford as soon as possible. If he doesn't place a Casemiro as soon as possible, he will get sacked.
Doesn't it?
Even the fact that he's playing two in the midfield, even the fact that he's playing two in the midfield, it's very risky in the Premier League in this manner as well. So. You know, it will be him getting himself sacked, but he's got to make those adjustments. It's only been 3 games.
You mentioned before about Mason Mount, right? And I was quietly impressed with his work rate and the structure did look a little bit better. We had less shots on goal. Our XG was looking better and so on. We were missing a few chances. So Mount was playing well. But I know that when Mount's fit and Ireland's fit, where do people fit in? Where does that system work then? I don't see that too. I don't see the Fernandes and Mount playing. I just don't see it.
Yeah. I think Bruno has to go in the 8. Bruno's not a 10. And when this 4-2-4 setup, Bruno is not a 10 because the way that Mason Mount plays the 10 position in that Fulham game and in the first half of Brighton, it keeps us shape. It keeps us protected for overloads in the midfield. It allows us, especially when we're building up in a 3-1-6, Mason Mount drops down centrally from like how Xerxes does. And that's why I would play Xerxes as another 10 option above Bruno as well, by the way. But Mason Mount drops into the midfield and makes a flat 3 almost, and allows bounce passes into defenders, and then we're able to build and get the numerical superiority that Ten Hag is trying to build with those 6 players high up the pitch. But Mason Mount comfortably drops down.
Does anybody on the panel believe that Xerxes would bench Fernandes? Because
it's not about benching Fernandes. It's about benching Casemiro, Kenny. I'm saying you could
hang on a minute.
Hold on a minute. Always play Bruno in an 8 and always play UGARTE in an 8. And whoever you want as your top 2 above them, draw out a hat, please. But always play Bruno.
I hope to draw out a hat.
Always play Bruno and UGARTE in the 2-8 positions. Anybody else?
Ten Hag tosses a coin. Right, I'll toss a coin. Oh, it's Casemiro this week.
You can't. Casemiro gave us the 4-0 against Crystal Palace the other day, last season.
We still got a bunch of super chats to get to. Let me get to these, and I'll come to Minna next. Ivor Clip says, all we need is chemistry and balance. English Talent FC says, we're compact because we played no strikers. United says, it's 3-1-6 and CR7 was right to speak on the standards. Truth and Grave says, Kenny, you've been contradictory this stream. You praised Slot early for his immediate impact, then later say it was normal Liverpool. David T says, Klopp didn't inherit scrubs. Let's not do this. We did this with Ange at the start of last season. Minna, I'll come to you. Just circling back to the Ronaldo thing. Me and Flex had this conversation this morning when he talks about as the Manchester United manager or coach, you can't say, you can't win the league or you won't win the league. What do you think about that? Because the discussion we were having is if Eric Ten Hag came out and said, we're going to aim for the league this season, rightfully so, people go, he's deluded, he's stupid, I can't believe he's saying this kind of thing. Is it with Ronaldo what he's saying there? Is he judging Manchester United by old standards? Is he judging them by the right standards? Is Ten Hag in a no-win situation with what he could say about what we can achieve this season? What do you make of all that?
Yeah, I think you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. I agree with Ronaldo. When it came out that Ten Hag said that United were not going to compete, I'm not asking for United to go out and win the league, but already it's loser mentality. I don't know. Am I the only person that feels like that's a loser mentality to write yourself off before the season's even started? And I'm not saying you have to go out and win the league, but if you can, I would have preferred, and again, I don't write his scripts for him, but I would have preferred for him to say, look, we are still in our process, but we're going to try hard during the campaign. We're going to go to the top 6 games and actually try to win, try and pick up 3 points, etc., etc. But essentially saying, no, we're not going to win the league. 3 years into your process, you should be in that situation of competing, right? I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion. But 3 years in, fans should be expecting you not to win, but to at least be competitive. And it's all about competitive nature. Champions League, we ain't in Champions League, so we can't really talk about that. But just accepting defeat so early. And it's one thing, can I say, the manager saying it, but even Bruno came out and said it himself. Bruno even came out in the international break in an interview with Portuguese media and said, "Yeah, we're not going to win the league this year. No one's asking you to win the league. No one is asking you to win the league." But that's basically saying every game you're going into, no value. It has no value. You're just turning up to play 90 minutes for absolutely no reason.
Yeah,
which
correct.
is basically telling fans, don't expect nothing. Don't expect.
Exactly.
Don't have
So why
standards.
go?
But for me,
if you cannot believe that Manchester United can win a league, right? Why are we supporting that club? But we do.
And we speak a lot
that's
about
our
mentality.
history.
We speak a lot about
That's our
mentality
history.
on the players. We speak about how when United go a goal or two down in a game, we complain about, oh, it's the mentality, it's the mentality. Is it right for the manager to come out and say this? What's the impact on the players' mentality then? It's giving them a free pass for the season.
To play devil's advocate with that, though, again, is it one of those ones where if he did, and like you say, I suppose it is how you say it, as opposed to coming up, we're going to win the league or we're going to try and win the league or whatever. But we have seen when he, for instance, when he has talked about things that he has achieved, we've won the FA Cup, we won the Carabao Cup, we've won the most trophies apart from Man City. When he does do that, he gets criticised for focusing too much on that. So can you see why maybe he would be reluctant to say that in front of the media where he knows what the natural reaction is going to be?
I feel like,
is it a case of doing it just as the players maybe and not the actual media?
I said, like, he's damned if he does and he damns if he doesn't. The best way to answer that would have been, we will be competitive. Because I think that's all fans ask for. Come out 90 minutes and give everything and try get 3 points. Try score goals. Try dominate possession. Try play a team off the pitch. I'm sure a lot of people off the back of last season don't feel like Man United are in a place to win the league. And that's completely fine. That is completely fine. Because I've accepted that. But I don't want to hear, because when you say you're not going to win the league or you're not going to compete to win the league, it's basically saying, is it saying it's not competitive? Now, what Ronaldo is saying is interesting, because I do agree with him, because it does set the wrong tone. And Eric Ten Hag clapping back about he's in Saudi and I'm here in Manchester. That's just a point scorer, but it's funny. I just don't know why we're giving this so much time. I guess it's because it's international break and there's nothing else to talk about. And also Rio Ferdinand. This makes sense as to why Rio Ferdinand was riding out the way he was for Cristiano during the Ten Hag versus Ronaldo thing. This all makes sense. He was waiting to get this interview on his channel.
We're not even competing for the league. We can't compete for the Champions League, let alone the league. We was 8th last year, and we're currently lying 13th, 14th. Let's have a dose of reality. And that's what Cristiano's done. A dose of reality. That's what we have become. And if we lose... Go on, sorry, but...
Sorry. Also, one of the comments saying, let's not do this, Ten Hag inherited a load of scrubs. I think it's not a relevant thing to put, because it's his third season. He spent over $500 million and he's brought in 20 players. Arnie Slot's come in after 3 games, signed no one, and he's took elements of Jurgen Klopp's game in terms of the pressing, but on the ball making his style of play. That's why he dropped Endo and putting Gravenberch. And for me, it's just not relevant. And I think I felt like Ronaldo, he should have gone, but he's right with the standards of the club. We're at rock bottom, and to be honest, after spending that much money, we should be competing for a league title. To put something into context, Jurgen Klopp was at Liverpool for 9 years, and he only spent 845 million. Eric Ten Hag has spent 668 million, and he's been here 3 seasons. So, and in Jurgen Klopp's 3rd season, he finished 3rd in the league, and he got to a Champions League final. Do you seriously believe if Eric Ten Hag stays for the full season, do you think he's going to get us into the top 4? And can you see us winning the Europa League?
Can I just quickly say something on that Slot part? Because I feel like obviously Slot inherited a much better team than what Ten Hag did. Let's be real. Van Dijk, Trent, Salah, etc. But if we put it into context, everyone that played against Liverpool in the starting 11 for Manchester United was essentially Ten Hag's guys. That's Ten Hag's players that he brought in, people that he promoted from the academy, people that he gave new contracts to. If you look at the team that Ten Hag won the Carabao Cup with, which arguably we could say that's a team predominantly that he inherited, nearly half of them are gone. Nearly half of that team is gone, or they've been kind of shunned out of the team where they're not really in the first team. I'm talking about people like Maguire, Lindelof, etc. Varane, gone. Eriksen, he's a non-factor. Weghorst, gone. Sabitzer, gone. Jadon Sancho, he was here for a bit, but gone. Marcus Rashford, new contract, Bruno Fernandes, new contract. Diogo Dalot, new contract. Like a lot of these players that Eric Ten Hag inherited have now gone. So now in year 3, I think you should be in the position where, you know, that process that you're talking about, you should be a lot further along than where we actually are right now. Like, be for real, guys. We're sitting here talking about Southampton on the weekend. As if, like, that should be guaranteed 3 points.
Exactly.
Do we think it's also as well?
Real Madrid.
Do we think it's also as well
Difference.
a situation where, so we mentioned Arne Slot there. Last season, it was Ange Postecoglou. Do you think that, again, this goes back to maybe Ten Hag and his personality and the way he's actually portrayed by the media, or the way that, you know, the media sort of warmed to him? Because it feels like they've never really warmed to him the way that immediately Arne Slot comes in. He's a very charismatic speaker, a good speaker. People enjoy his interviews. It's the same with Ange Postecoglou last season. You know, even, you know, look at Pep at City. Obviously, if you put the football aside, you judge him as a person. He's a very engaging, dynamic person, by dynamic speaker. Same when it comes to Jurgen Klopp previously at Liverpool. Do you think that's also part of it, John? I'll come to you about that. Do you think that's another part of it in terms of, and that's not, I suppose, necessarily his fault, you know, the way he can come across, but do you think that's also part of it, with the way that, you know, getting his ideas across, or the way he's perceived by some?
I just have a quick question for the panel to answer your question, Owen. Raise your hand if English is your first language. Yeah, you spoke English for the most part. Okay, cool. I came to America, yeah, as an immigrant. I knew no English at all in elementary school. The first person, I can still remember this conversation clearly. You know what I mean? I remember this girl was asking me about something, and I like, my heart was fluttering. I had a little crush, yeah. And she asked me if I watched the latest movie with, I think it was like Last Samurai or something, with Tom Cruise. And she asked me why I like Tom Cruise, and my English was so bad. I was like, "Oh, I like Tom Cruise because he plays basketball." What the hell are you talking about, John? You know what I'm saying? I have a friend. His name, shout out Andy. His name's Andy. When he speaks English, he's very like, you know, he's got this demeanor. He's got like this low tone energy. And then when he speaks Korean, he goes, oh, like he's got like, you know, when you switch up language, it changes. You know what I'm saying? And of course, I'm not here to don a Delulu thing, like defending Ten Hag and saying that, you know, he's saying the wrong things because he can't speak English. But there are just certain times where, you know, speech isn't your strong suit. You know what I'm saying? Like Jose Mourinho can say 3 words and everybody goes, "Oh, Jose's on a mat thing," you know. But like Ten Hag, you know, he doesn't carry himself like that. I do agree. I think Bradley mentioned it earlier. I think he maybe needs to, you know, choose his words a little bit more carefully. But I think we're putting too much on somebody that hasn't, where English wasn't his first language. And I think that does have a significance.
That's going to take time as well.
I don't think it's necessarily, I don't mean in terms of like his language. I mean in just his terms of like, and this is coming from someone who's very awkward. He's an awkward guy. You know what I mean? And when you do see those other managers, they do come across differently than him. And I don't even, because for instance, there was the video of him talking in Dutch over the weekend at the testimonial, and you heard him going, "Eh." So he's like that. That is just him when he is talking in his natural language. And I just wonder, more so from the sort of from the media perception point of view, because we talk about, you know, I do kind of agree with what the super chat saying earlier on when we were talking about Arne Slot, and you do have to kind of think about, well, he's only a few games in. We'll see how Liverpool do this season. It was the same with Ange Postecoglou last season. Greatest start ever by a new manager. And it was like, when did they end up finishing Spurs in the end? They were not even in Europe, right? After that great start. But it was because Ange is a great guy. Yeah, we like his press conference. We like his press conferences. And he does play good football as well. That kind of cuts him a bit of slack. And I do wonder, like, if that does go against Eric Ten Hag a little bit.
The longer he's in the Premier League, the better his articulation of English will be, I think, and the way he communicates it. That's it. It's taken a long time. He needs to do extra English classes. That's it.
Marcel, what's your first language, by the way? Because you didn't put your hand up.
Marcelish.
I mean, I wondered why. I wondered why he didn't put his hand up. I was looking at it. I was going,
oh god,
it's a language, bro. It's a language.
Upregulate. It's very much upregulate.
Wait, no, Owen, but no, you do have a. First of all, I don't think you're awkward at all. I think you suave as hell, broski. Secondly, no, you're right. You know, he does. Not everybody can carry themselves with that demeanor. You know, when it comes to speeches, but everybody has that pause word. you know how many people I listen to when they talk on an interview, they go, or like, oh, obviously. Like, everybody has that, you know what I'm saying? And I think we carry that too much. When Ten Hag first popped off in Manchester United in the first season, like, he was talking, the quote came out, eras come to an end. When he first started talking, everybody was like, oh, this man's on it. Like, this man's on smoke, right? And now all of a sudden he talks about all these things, and no matter what he says, he's going to be put he's going to be looked at from a negative perspective, because at this point in time, United stink. That's the fact. If United start kicking dope ball and they start winning, he could talk about Harry Potter again, and them men are going to come out with wands and fucking Gryffindor and Slytherin shit and just what, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, my man Ten Hag said it, you know what I'm saying? Like, when United play better, he'll look better, irrespective of how he carries himself.
Correct.
But also, to be fair, he doesn't need English lessons after the Brentford game when he's coming out and saying, oh, City didn't play that well. They were lucky to win. Well, so basically you're accepting that we played poorly and you're coming up with a crappy excuse as to make sure that it's all right that we played bad because City struggled. But if you actually look at it, when City played that game, which he was on about, when City won 1-0, City had 23 shots and they had 4, and Manchester United conceded 31 shots and only had 4 shots themselves. You don't need to speak English as your first language to understand that. You just come across as a bit of a muppet.
You just know maths.
You're right.
Know your maths.
No, I think. Sure. Oh, dang, okay. We're going there. No. Look, you're right, Bradley. Again, like I said before, I refer to what you said earlier as well. I think I'm not using his language barrier as an excuse. He's definitely smart enough, and he's a manager of Manchester United. He definitely has a team around him to be able to select his words a little bit more carefully. 100%, 110%. But I just think there's a little bit too much of a weight with respect to carrying that element. You know, I think we take it a little too seriously, respectfully. It's just the way I see it.
Can I just say one thing?
Ultimately, as manager, it's about his team. About his team understanding his tactics, irrespective of what the press think. Most of the team have played for him before. They're either Dutch or Dutch origin, right? So they all understand. They've all played for him before. So it's not a case as he's bringing people in from planet Mars or Pluto. They don't understand what he's on about.
Or planet Marcel, either.
Or Marcelish.
You know, Marcelish. That's a bar. That's a bar.
So most of them have played for him before. So they should know. And that's what matters. It's about their understanding of Ten Hag, not what Simon Stone thinks or Ornstein or whatever. That's irrelevant. But
Minna, you were going to say?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, if United are getting results and playing good football, no one cares about if you can speak English or if you don't, or if you've got a speech impediment or if you don't, or if you can't translate. No one cares. No. I don't care about the way he speaks, like always saying all of that kind of, that to me doesn't bother me. What bothers me is the rebuttals in press conferences and, you know, the not really answering the question that's asked. That kind of, I don't like that stuff. But also, what other manager guys had a witch hunt from the second game in his debut season? Like, the media are part of the problem. Are part of the problem. They have wanted him to fail probably since the day he got the job. When he was I think it was at Crystal Palace, when Rangnick's last game.
Yeah,
they've been wanting him to fail. I've never seen a manager interrogated in such manner after a couple of games. The way that Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher pulled up to Carrington like it was an MI5 investigation to interrogate him. I've never seen that. I've really never seen that. And it's really funny because with Erik Ten Hag, I realize he's, again, damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Because when he's talking shit and saying, you know, if they want to keep me, if they don't want to keep me, I'll just go win trophies somewhere else. Everyone was lapping it up. I'm telling you guys, if Man United are winning and they're getting results and they're playing well, no one cares about Erik Ten Hag. He could talk about Harry Potter. He could talk about Desperate Housewives. He could talk about whatever the hell he wants in a press conference. If United are winning, I don't care.
I'd love to see Erik Ten Hag talk about Desperate Housewives.
So would I.
It'll be terrific. Amanor says, Minna, 7 more games till speak about Erik Ten Hag. Putting a countdown on it. Ossie says, it's not Casemiro, it's the bloody coach. He's rubbish. Push back on Marcel. It's a nasty narrative. ATS Travel says, nothing to do with the media when you lose to 2 new managers in your first 3 games. Half the team is from your Ajax system. Still awful. Danny says, Ten Hag beat Klopp in his 3rd game. Means nothing, which I suppose is an interesting point. Eminem says, if there is no improvement versus Southampton and it turns into an NBA game, is that a sign Erik Ten Hag will not improve things? fitness and injuries are not excuses now. Just quickly before we wrap things up, we kind of spoke about it at the top of the show, but we'll finish with this. Predictions for Saturday. Minna, I'll start with you. What's your prediction?
Yeah, I'm going 1-0. United.
1-0?
Yeah.
1-0 United win.
Smash and grab.
Bradley, what are you going with?
1-0, just about. I was thinking 0-0, but I'll go 1-0.
1-0, just about. Marcel, live from Planet
United.
Marcel. 3-1. Yes, that's what I like.
Bruno, Martinez, and Ahmad.
Martinez going to score.
Yeah.
Leacher. What from? A set piece?
Yeah, most probably a set piece.
Overhead kick.
Overhead kick, maybe. Kenny, what are you going with?
3-1. We're playing Southampton. We're not playing Real Madrid. Southampton 3-1.
3-1. And good vibes, John. What about you?
I'm gonna go 5-1. We're playing Southampton, not Real Madrid. Come on now.
5-1.
Have we ever scored 5 under Ten Hag? I don't think we have.
Have we ever scored 4?
4-1 against Chelsea.
Yeah,
4-1 against
Yeah.
Chelsea.
That's it.
We've had we must have
We've had a
won-
couple
we've won-
4 goals. I
Well,
think.
yeah, because we had a few 4-3s, didn't we, under Ten Hag, right? Liverpool
Again.
last
We've had a
season.
7 again.
Oxford United, or was that team? Oxford?
Yeah, we've had
4-3. He was in a cup game.
We've had a few 4-3s, definitely. Commentary.
Yeah.
There you go.
It was 3-3.
It's 3-3, exactly. Yeah. Danny says Ange and Slot come to United. Press would criticise too. Well, whoever is the Manchester United manager is going to get that criticism, aren't they?
Yeah.
No doubt about that. But big up to everyone. Big up to the panel. How many likes did we end up with as well? Actually, or we can get it much higher. We're not even at 300. If you haven't already, click the like button. Let's get it to 400 on the way out. So be sure to click the like button. Be sure to subscribe. A reminder: tomorrow morning we'll be live once again, Morning View. And we'll have the Trinity podcast tomorrow as well, Flex, KG, and myself. And then Saturday, it shall indeed be match day. Everyone breathe. Everyone breathe. Get ready for it. But you know, to kick off the Premier League weekend, I'll be live 2 hours before kickoff at 10:30. Then it will be inside UVHQ for that one, for the match for you. So be sure to join us. Big up to Bidder, big up to Bradley, big up to Marcel, big up to Kenny, big up to Good Vibes John, as always. And we'll be back same time next week. We're out of here. Peace.